With the finals of the Chunin exams only a month away, many of the participants were looking to kick their training into high gear, knowing that the final rounds were going to be anything but easy. Of course, Kakashi was left in a bit of a sticky conundrum, as all three of his students had made it to the finals, and naturally, all three were going to want to train with him. Of course, he could try to just make a shadow clone and hopefully, combined with his efforts, teach all of them as much as he could. But ultimately, the one whom he had his sights set on helping most was Sasuke, given their compatibility with the use of the Sharingan, and because he didn't think there was much that he could do for Kori at the moment, given her special circumstance. Tatsu, potentially, but he had other plans for her. As such, the two girls would be given respective Jonin senseis, with Tatsu being sent under Anko Mitarashi, while Kori would be given the special Jonin Ebisu. Of course, Ebisu had his own concerns, as he was currently in the midst of training the third Hokage's grandson, Konohamaru Sarutobi. So, much to his dismay, even if it was Kakashi asking for a favor, he now found himself taking on Kori as a fellow student. He would be training the two of them out in the training grounds, with Konohamaru looking up to the tall, red-haired, orange-skinned girl. Of course, Konohamaru tried to act like he was tough and in charge, as he normally did. After all, being the grandson of the Hokage, he felt as though no one had the guts to stand up to him. But he would surely be proved wrong, because Kori wasn't like most girls. She had no problem saying how she felt or expressing herself, and she damn well didn't care about family ties, which Konohamaru would learn the hard way with a striking hit to the head. But even with this hit, he gained a newfound respect for Kori, as she was the only one who was willing to stand up to him, to actually tell him the truth about himself, a truth that sometimes even he didn't like to admit. Of course, for Ebisu, he felt like all of this was trouble. He was dealing with the Nine-Tails brat, the one who was responsible for so much. No, it wasn't her. But still, her reputation didn't do her much better. Even if she didn't have the Nine-Tails inside of her, it wouldn't change the fact that she was a ruffian with no found tact for respect or skill. But if anyone could make a miracle, it was Ebisu. For Kori, the lessons were dull to say the least, learning how to use chakra control and to try to gain a mastery over it. One day, rather than dealing with Ebisu, Kori decided that she was just going to take a day to herself. After all, she had monster power, so perhaps she could just wing it in the final rounds. Of course, her opponent was Sasuke, someone that she had now had more thinking time for. Of course, sparring with your teammate is one thing, but fighting in an intense competition, that was an entirely different story. And even more so, the fact that he was being trained exclusively by Kakashi. The Sharingan was definitely going to be a tricky thing to overcome, on top of whatever new jutsu or techniques he got his hands on. Plus, with his black wings, he had the ability to fly just like her, so she wouldn't have the advantage in that regard. If she had to take a guess when it came to their raw strength, she'd like to wager that she held the advantage, although through hard training and dedication, Sasuke could surely catch up if he tried hard enough, although she'd probably still be slightly stronger. While doing so, she found herself arriving to the cemetery, where she found an older man with a scroll on his back, long silver hair, and the kanji of oil as a forehead protector on his head. He looked somber. As she approached to the grave, she saw that he was standing in front of Naruto's. "Did you know him?" Kori would ask. Oh, sorry, ma'am. I I never really got the chance to. I see. But I take it you knew him? Yeah, we were teammates. I see. So you were a part of Naruto's squad. It's nice to meet you. And you are a beautiful young lady, Jiraiya said. Corey could tell that the man was looking at her a lot more intently after that response. Maybe he was a little bit of a perv, but it was obvious that the perviness wasn't on the forefront of his mind. This man had some connection to Naruto, although how much she wasn't entirely sure. She'd never seen this man around in the village. Was he just a visitor? Had he heard some tale about Naruto's heroics in the Land of Waves and wanted to pay his respects? What exactly is your connection to Naruto? I guess you could say I was his godfather. His what? I was his godfather, and you were never around. Well, I live a very taxing lifestyle. I couldn't just very well afford to take a child with me. But looking back, that probably wasn't much of an excuse. I see. So I take it you're a shinobi from Konoha then. That explains why you were able to come all the way here without anyone tailing you. Indeed, Konoha is my home. I don't come around very often, of course. I'm often busy doing other things, and what's your name? I am the great Toad Sage, Jiraiya. Toad Sage? Wait, Jiraiya? Corey remembered. She'd seen the name Jiraiya before, the title author of Kakashi Sensei's book. Hold on. You're the guy that writes that smut Kakashi's always reading? Smut? I'll have you know, it's fine literature, and you shouldn't even bother with it. It's not for a child. Yeah, right. So, you're a pervy sage. That seemed more appropriate. I am not a pervert. I'd like to think of myself as a connoisseur, that's all. Appreciating a fine woman. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, pervy sage. I am not a pervert! Anyway, what are you doing here? I just wanted to pay my respects, I guess. You were with him that day, weren't you? I was. I don't know why. I don't know why I keep coming here so often. It's like he's already gone. Why bother? Why care? Why do anything? I just... It's okay, Jiraiya said, patting the girl on her shoulder. Corey flinched immediately at this, but she knew it wasn't hostile, and he wasn't doing anything perverted, trying to show some display of empathy. You know, sometimes I wonder why I'm even a shinobi in the first place. It's not like anyone here in this village really cares about me. It's just... what is it? He didn't deserve this. I mean, if I had died, no one would have cared. Why would you say such a thing? Because it's the truth. From the day I've been born, for as long as I can remember, everyone around looks at me like I'm a monster. For something I don't even know. For something I didn't even do. Every day I walk past that statue of that family, the Haruno family. Apparently they died when the nine-tailed fox attacked. It was a guy, a pregnant wife. They were supposed to be evacuating, but they were helping other people escape, and they got caught in the crossfire. A memorial was made for them, and yet every time I walk past it, I just get so angry because it's like their deaths are on my head. And what did I do wrong? What did I do? If I had died on that mission, I wouldn't have a grave like this. I know that no one would have cared about me. And I would have been fine with that. But Naruto, he had so much left to live for. I mean, the way he smiled, the way he walked without a care in the world. I don't know. Sometimes it was just so infuriating. And yet, it was so comforting. Why? Why did Naruto have to die? Why? Why him? He didn't deserve it. A lot of things happen, Corey, in this world that often isn't fair. I know it's not easy, and saying that it probably doesn't do it any justice. I just don't get it. People like Naruto shouldn't have to die. They should be able to live. They should be happy. And yet, they're the ones that go. And the scum of the earth, the people who just kill and take away life without a care in the world, they just keep on living. It's not right. I know. This world is filled with so much hate, so much bitterness. Sometimes it's overwhelming, even for me. But it wasn't in vain that you lived. Because you remember Naruto. You remember him for his kindness, for his warmth. And you have a chance to live with that, to share it with the world. Sometimes we try to fight fire with fire, an eye for an eye. But in every case, every scenario, everyone's blind, burnt, and left in the grave. Then what do? If hate's not the answer, then what is? Maybe love. What's there to love? That is the ultimate answer, my girl. It's up to us to find it. You're in the tuning exams, aren't you? I am. Will you allow me to train you? You want to train me. I do. But why? You don't even know me. Does that really matter? Corey thought about it. To her, relationships seem to be everything. The relationship a parent has with a child, a master to a student, someone you've known for a long time, but a bond between two strangers, could it really amount to much? And yet at the same time, to feel as though there was someone out there looking out for her that actually cared. It meant more to her than anything. With that, Corey would leave from Ebisu Sensei. And much to Ebisu's surprise, Corey would bow respectfully and thank him. It was for a short time, but he tried his best, and she appreciated it for what it's worth. She left Konohamaru, ruffled hair and all, with the admonition to work hard, to not take shortcuts if he really wanted to be Hokage someday. And if he did become Hokage, then in her eyes, he was a Hokage worth supporting. For Ebisu, this left him a bit conflicted. Perhaps the Nine Tails, perhaps Corey, wasn't as bad as he thought she was. From here, Team 7 would work rigorously into their training as the 1 month time period for the Chunin exam finals loomed ahead. First, when it came to Corey and Jiraiya took an interest in Corey's raw power and massive strength, as well as that pure green energy that she was able to shoot. She gave a demonstration of what she knew so far and what she was capable of. And safe to say, Jiraiya was absolutely astounded. The girl had the ability to fly without any limitation, naturally, without even expending her chakra, although she could use her chakra to boost her speeds and make her go faster. She also had the ability to shoot this green energy from both of her hands as well as her eyes. Jiraiya took time to analyze this power and ability. It gave off a radiating heat. It was like fire, but more concise. She couldn't necessarily control it, but still, it was quite powerful. Also, he took into account her ability with the Shadow Clone Jutsu, which she had already learned. And on top of that, she had long flowing red hair, which scarily reminded him of Kushina. So much so that he even asked if Corey was an Uzumaki, to which she declined. Corey would even inquire more about the Uzumaki name. After all, Naruto had it, but she didn't really know why she was compared to the Uzumaki. Jiraiya would then tell Corey more about the Uzumaki clan, how they were known to have massive reserves of chakra, and that they came from a lost village known as the Land of Whirlpools. On top of that, they were distinguished for having specifically crimson red hair, and Corey's was quite similar to Kushina. That was Naruto's mom, and even Mito Uzumaki. Of course, because Jiraiya was curious about this, he asked Corey if she'd be interested in having the last name Uzumaki. Of course, Corey didn't feel like it was right for her to do so, but Jiraiya explained that everyone deserved to have a name of their own. And if she decided to go by Uzumaki, no one would bat an eye at it. After all, she had the look at least, and the fact that she was able to hold in the Nine Tails, it gave Uzumaki vibe. Corey would consider this, though. Perhaps this would be a way of honoring Naruto, taking up the name Uzumaki for herself. But then that came to what Jiraiya had to teach her. There was potential for the summoning jutsu or the Rasengan, but summoning jutsu didn't really seem to appeal to Corey, and for the Rasengan, it would take more time than they had. But gauging from what she could do, Jiraiya took note of her long hair and decided to teach her his ninja art for yang release, that being the hairstyle jutsu. First would be the ninja art needle hair jizo. This technique allowed for the user to expand their hair with yang release to wrap it around their body with spikes, acting as a sort of a defense and offense if someone tried to attack you. Then next there was the wild lion's mane, another technique that allowed the user to extend their hair to any length that they wished and to use it in offensive style for attacking, capturing, or binding opponents. For Corey, when she used the wild lion's mane, her hair would break apart and extend into 9 particular tails. This was probably the influence of the 9-tailed fox inside of her, and it gave similar vibes of Kushina, scarily so. It made Jiraiya question if perhaps Kushina and Minato perhaps made a love child by accident, but that wasn't the case. Then finally, there was the ninja art hair needle senbon, another technique that used the power of the hair, and instead would shoot off the hair strands as Sinbon Needles, infused with chakra and capable of doing a lot of damage. Funnily enough, just as a theory to test out, Jiraiya would teach her the Fireball Jutsu. Kori had seen Sasuke use it, so the fact that she would be learning it herself had her intrigued. Although when she performed it, her fire didn't come out as red, it came out as green, like an emerald green. This left Jiraiya curious, and he studied the flames. The radiation was a whole lot stronger, and a lot more concise. Jiraiya had heard theories about the next evolution of fire. Of course, this came from the more scientifically advanced areas of the world. They called it nuclear energy, or some form of radiation. There were said to be lost clans that were capable of performing this type of jutsu, and this technique itself, that it was similar to using the power of the sun, and that seemed to describe Kori's flame perfectly. As such, after more analyzation, Jiraiya would come to the conclusion that this release was a Kekkei Genkai, similar to that of the Sharingan, or like that of Haku in the Ice Release, or Tatsu in her Ice Release. This wasn't something that just anyone could do, and even if they replicated it, they could never compare to the original. This was something that came with her genetically. It was, as Jiraiya would officially dub, her nuclear release, the combination of fire and yang release. With this in mind, they would work more so on chakra control, as well as learning to harness the power of the nine-tailed fox. Jiraiya's goal was to make her a more well-rounded fighter, as well as improve upon her natural skills, making her an absolute juggernaut for the Chunin exams. Next would be Sasuke Uchiha and his training with Kakashi. This wouldn't go how it did in the original timeline, primarily because Kakashi would be even more conflicted training Sasuke than before. Unlike in the original timeline, where Kakashi had to train Sasuke to basically defend himself against a monster like Gaara, Sasuke would be going up against Kori. Now, Sasuke needed to be trained, and Kakashi agreed with this, but there was also the worry of him training Sasuke a little too well and him doing irreparable damage to a comrade. As such, Kakashi ruled out teaching him the Chidori, at least for now. He didn't want Sasuke to accidentally use in the Chunin exams on Kori or someone else that was close to him and potentially scar the child even more. But what was there to teach him? Outside of Sasuke already knowing the Fireball Jutsu, Kakashi would instead teach him the lightning-style Shadow Clone Jutsu, for two reasons. One, because Sasuke's chakra reserves were a bit more higher than that of the average Genin. As such, even though he couldn't spam the Shadow Clone Jutsu like Kori could, he was still capable of making 3 clones, and after learning his chakra nature, infusing his clones with lightning-style chakra would be a double-edged sword on both sides of benefit. The reason being was because, for one, that would give him 3 extra bodies to help fight and coordinate with in battle, and Kakashi would reveal to Sasuke the secret of the Shadow Clone Jutsu, that when clones were dispelled, the information they gathered would go back to the original. Because Sasuke was made aware of this, his clones, while using the Sharingan, whatever they gained or mastered, could basically just go right back to the original. Another set of eyes and hands, as well as additional information and potential for learning new techniques back within his grasp. Next would be the lightning-style Shuriken Jutsu. Of course, the Shuriken Jutsu was a hidden jutsu, an exclusive clan technique to the Uchiha that they passed down from generation to generation, the ability to manipulate shuriken in the air with other shuriken. But when infused with lightning chakra, it made the cutting power 10 times stronger. He would also learn the lightning-style Thunderclap Arrow, as well as the lightning-style Discharge Jutsu, which was just a defensive technique that Sasuke could dispel lightning-style chakra from the pores of his body and just shoot out a discharge at any enemy that tried to get too close. On top of that, Kakashi would help the boy improve with his two Tomoe Sharingan, and he would make him a dual weapon wielding master. First, Kakashi would give Sasuke his white saber short sword, the sword that he used during his younger years. And Sasuke, after a long time, would finally take up the mantle of using the weapon that his mother used, that being the Iron Mace. And finally, there would be Tatsu's training with Anko. For Tatsu, this would be beneficial as she would be training with someone who understood her need for revenge against Orochimaru. Who better than a former student of Orochimaru who was also wronged and branded for the curse mark and left for dead? Anko would encourage Tatsu to stay on the right track, and that through hard work and dedication, she could achieve her goal, as she believed the girl was capable of doing it. She had even survived an encounter with Orochimaru, however brief, so she knew the girl had the potential within her. Harnessing her ability with her Kekkei Genkai for ice release, Tatsu would focus on improving in her ice-style techniques. First, the ice-style piercing ice spike jutsu, the jutsu that allowed her to create ice spikes that would appear from the ground, shooting up to potentially stab or incapacitate or immobilize her enemies. Next was the 1,000 flying ice needles jutsu. Similar to the hair needle jutsu that Kori would learn, this would allow her to create ice needles, akin to Senbon, which she would also get training in that field from Anko, who was also capable of using Senbon in combat, allowing her to shoot her ice projectiles at potential vital spots to paralyze or stun or even kill an enemy, or to just give her the advantage when engaging with a sword. She would also learn the ice bullet jutsu, as well as the water-style wild water wave, allowing her to create a decent-sized body of water that she could freeze over with her ice release and create more ice to use on the battlefield. One new jutsu that she would create with Anko, who also gave the girl a 101 crash course in the usage of poisons and other paralyzing agents, was the ice-style paralyzing ice snake jutsu. Of course, she didn't really prefer to use a snake of all things. She had a disdain for them, but to get where she needed to go, then she'd do what was necessary. The ice snake is what you would refer to it as. It's a snake created out of ice that moves and operates like any ordinary snake would. The key trick is that when the snake bites an opponent, it leaves its ice-like fangs inside of the target. The fangs are the key, because these ice fangs are actually poisons. Poisons of any kind to Tatsu's discretion. It could be a lethal poison or a paralyzing poison. Anything you can think of. The trick is that when the ice fangs are buried inside of the opponent, the ice will slowly melt away and release the poison throughout the body. It's not meant to be an instant win. More so, it's supposed to slowly defeat the opponent of choice, either slowly killing them, slowly paralyzing them, causing them to lose their step throughout the fight. And the more snakes she sits out on you, the worser the dosages are going to be. The only way to counter a technique like this once you've been bitten is to stand completely still and try not to move your body too much. This will let the ice not melt so quickly and release the poison through your body so quickly either. It was definitely the type of technique an assassin would use, and for someone like Tatsu, it was a technique right up her alley. And on top of that, Tatsu would also improve in her Kenjutsu sword style, as well as her Taijutsu via training with Anko. Eventually, the 1-month training period would come to an end, and at the Chunin exam arena, many from the Hidden Leaf as well as the Land of Fire and all over would gather for the final round of the Chunin exams. It was early in the morning for Corey as she arrived to the stadium, along with the other participants. The only one not arrived on time, Sasuke and Kakashi. Anko would simply grit her teeth, wondering what could have been keeping the two so long, and Corey and Tatsu wondered the same things as well. Of course, Genma, the proctor for the exam, would have everyone stand in attention, as the finals were set to take place. Darui, the head Jonin sensei for the Cloud Ninja, would greet the Hokage personally, bowing and giving his regards. "I do apologize, Lord Third. I'd hate to be the bearer of bad news, but Lord Fourth will not be able to attend the Chunin ceremony." That is disappointing. I looked forward to seeing with the Raikage." "Yes, sir. He gives his regards. He would have came if he could, but there was a pressing matter in the Land of Lightning and he couldn't ignore it, although he does promise to make a proper appearance at a later date and time." Darui would bow politely to the Kazekage as well as Mifune before taking his leave, standing with a few other Jonins of the Hidden Leaf, and among them Mike Guy, who gave him a pat on the back. Well, welcome, my esteemed guests. It's so good for you to be here on such a glorious day and occasion. And it seems like two of our students are going to be going head to head. Oh, I see. So, you're the master for that Hyuga kid? Yeah, that's right. He's a child of my own heart. Neji, along with my protege Lee, they're going to do amazing in the Chunin exams. Honestly, the only downside is trying to figure out how I'll cheer for them 50-50 when they make it to the finals. You definitely got a lot of confidence, don't you? Guy Sensei, or Mike Guy, or your guy, a guy. I'm the guy. You need a tour around the place? Have you been to the snack bar? I know. Let's get some snacks before the exams start. Oh, wait, hold. I don't mean to. While Darui found himself being the unlikeliest of companions with Mike Guy, the other senseis would all be getting ready for the main showdown that was to take place. First and foremost, though, the first two wildcard rounds were set to take place, the first being with Shikamaru and Tatsu. Of course, Shikamaru didn't have much confidence of himself winning, but he figured he'd give it his all. An overview of the fight would be rather simple, sweet, and to the point. Tatsu was not going to lose, and she made sure not to reveal any of her primary techniques. Shikamaru would put up a valiant effort, but knowing that he was outclassed, he would simply take the defeat and forfeit. It was a good little spat between two shinobi, and honestly, Shikamaru gained even more of a good impression because he was able to fight, hold his own, come up with decent strategy, and he knew when to give up. Because of that, it actually earned him a lot more favor than if he would have continued fighting, just to struggle in vain. The next match would be Rock Lee versus Tamari. Definitely a clash of two powerful forces. Tamari was going to give it her all. Of course, if she had advanced, she would have had to face Gaara in the first round, and she had no plans on doing that. So if this was as far as she was going to go, then she figured she could give it her all. Although Rock Lee proved to be too much of an overwhelming force, and despite her best efforts, he was easily able to defeat her. And with that, Rock Lee would advance officially to the first round. There would be a brief 5-minute intermission, with everyone getting themselves acquainted before the first round would officially begin. And yet still, there was no sign of Sasuke. But his match was scheduled to be the final match in the first round, so he had till then to get there. With that, Genma would call the first two combatants to the stage, Karui of the Cloud and Tatsu Yamashiro, representing the Hidden Leaf via the Land of Iron. The Kazekage, Mifune, and the Hokage, sitting in the celebrity box overlooking the exam arena, would look on in anticipation. Lord Mifune, the Kazekage would say, you must be quite proud of your granddaughter. To have gotten as far as she has is no small feat, especially when competing against the shinobi. You will be wise, Lord Kazekage. Never underestimate the spirit of the samurai. Oh, indeed, you are a powerful people. It's a shame you haven't decided to become an official village yet. It is tempting, but we choose to stay out of the affairs of the shinobi. That's your world. But it doesn't help to have good competition. You have a lot of promising ninja, Lord Third, the Kazekage said to the Hokage. Indeed. It seems that the blossoms of the next generation are starting to come into full bloom. Splendid shinobi, splendid samurai, powerful warriors one and all coming into their own in the fruits of youth. I look forward to seeing them grow. In your old age, you should take things easy. Perhaps try and find a replacement sooner or later. No fret, Lord Fourth. I have no intentions on settling down anytime soon. These old bones of mine can still go on for a few more years. And now, it seems like the fun is getting ready to start. Genma would step forward, addressing the crowd for the beginning of the first round. Thank you one and all for your patronage. And now, without further ado, we commence the beginning of the final rounds of the Chunin exams. First, representing the Hidden Cloud Village, Karui of the Cloud. Next, representing the Hidden Leaf via the Land of Iron, Tatsu Yamashiro. Genma would raise his arm into the air, the crowds roaring in anticipation as he lowered it down forth. Let the first match of the Chunin exams begin! This concludes Naruto, King of the Beast. What If Naruto Was Swamp Thing? Season 2, Part 4. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that's to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned on Monday as we continue with Naruto, King of the Beast. What If Naruto Was Swamp Thing? Season 2, Part 5. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.